Hi, everybody. I know it's Saturday. It's not Wednesday. What? It's because we got something special. So this here is my bestest friend, Renata.
Hey.
If you've ever read any of my books, you might notice her name because she has edited, and she is the co-author of A Mother's Truth. She does not give herself enough credit. And we are starting a brand new show today, and is super cool. So it's called BEDLAM, Beyond Mental Illness. And I don't know what is screaming outside.
That was perfect timing, though.
That was. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Possibly, it wasn't a crow. I was going to say possibly a crow. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was cool.
But it was good.
Yeah. So yeah, BEDLAM, Beyond Mental Illness. And so Renata has done some research, because I hate doing research. And she is going to give us some background. So today's episode is pretty general, but the concept of this show is that we're going to be talking about the history of mental illness, because we didn't just wake up one day and know everything about these things. We're still learning lots about stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to shed some light on the darkness back there, because I find it so interesting. And we're going to do it as a kind of fun, revealing style. So today Renata's done the research, probably most of the time, to be honest. And so she is going to let us know, and I will react with you guys the exact same way, because this is the first time I'm hearing any of this information too. So
yeah.
Take it away.
So, before I get started, I just want to cite my sources because I think that's important to do. So, OED.com, or the Oxford English Dictionary, was one of my sources. Canadian Encyclopedia.ca, OHRC.on.ca, which is the Ontario Human Rights Commission, and Wikipedia, of course. And then Sciendo.com. I don't know how to pronounce it, actually. It's SCIENDO.com. So I thought to begin with, we would start with the origin of the word bedlam. It's a good word, right?
It is a good word.
It's a good word.
Actually, so Renata named the podcast. She's like, let's call it BEDLAM. And I was like, ooh, yeah, history of mental illness. I'm like, oh, that sounds stupid. Beyond mental illness. Well, at first it was like, history of, then behind, then beyond. And I was like, beyond, because it's like, I don't know. I think it's good, and it's our show, so we decided.
Okay, so there was a hospital in England called St. Mary Bethlehem. And yes, I'm reading. That's why I'm looking down continually.
I didn't memorize.
Research. Yeah, I didn't memorize any of this. I'm sorry. So this hospital was devoted to treat, care, house, the mentally ill. How they treated them and cared for them and housed them is another story.
So what year was this?
I will tell you in a momentito. The hospital itself, probably, I think it was the 1800s sometime, but I could be wrong. I do refer to the date somewhere in here.
Okay, we'll get there.
I just don't know.
We'll get there.
Okay, so over time, the pronunciation of Bethlehem became Bedlam.
Oh.
Yeah, people just shortened it, I guess.
So it should have been Bethlehem the whole time, but it was like, Bethlehem.
People just got lazy with syllables and shortened it. So
it was like Bethlehem, Bedlam.
Yeah. So
right?
because it was a home for the mentally ill, it came to signify.
Or back in that day, the crazy.
Yep, the crazy.
Or the possessed. I'm going to assume they probably also thought possession way back in the 1800s. That sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will touch on some of that as well.
Oh, exciting. I'm really hopped up on sugar, guys. Renata bought me this chocolate chill, and it's so good and full of sugar.
Okay, so the hospital was originally located in Bishopsgate, eventually moved to South London, where a psychiatric research facility still exists, apparently. Oh. It's called Bethlehem Royal Hospital and is located in Bromley, London. Oh. Just so you know. So the earliest use of the word bedlam is thought to have been in the 1400s. Okay, so I was wrong. Is now exclusively used as a noun or an adjective, and is used when we mean any situation in which pandemonium exists. So
pandemonium is such an awesome word.
Also really a good word.
It's a good word. But yeah, bedlam is like a nice short, because we're obviously so lazy. That's a nice short word. You know what I just thought of? Totally off topic. Because we're talking about how we like to shorten words. And so when Lev came out and changed his name to Levin, I was like, but now how am I going to shorten your name? And then eventually came to Lev. And then I just realized you don't have a short name of Renata. You just, because I don't want to call you Ren. That's just,
People did, though. When I was a kid, people did call me Ren.
I don't want to do it because that's what people call my dad. His name's Reynolds, so then Ren was his nickname.
That's
so
not a great association for you.
No.
Yeah, don't call me Ren.
No. So I just realized I don't have a nickname for you.
No, I don't know. Over the years, no. If it wasn't Ren, it was.
Yeah, you don't really. Yeah.
My sister used to call me. She was a Star Trek fan, so she made my name. She reversed it, so she would call me Adiner because she thought it sounded like an alien name. That's my sister.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that was the only sort of nickname I ever had.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And despite the fact that I'm not even 5 feet tall, people did not call me any pejorative names to make fun of my height.
Really?
I never got called
awesome.
shorty, shrimp. I never got called any of those names. I don't know why.
That is surprising because you are short.
I am short.
I mean, I'm only 5'4" and I'm taller than you. I'm not taller than
She's
too many
giant.
people. Huge, man, I'm huge.
When I hit my 30s was the first time people around me seemed to think it was okay to start to say things about my height. And I was like, what is happening?
That's weird.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
Anyway, back to BEDLAM. So
I just created a bit of pandemonium there.
An example of when we might use the word BEDLAM would be like any Walmart parking lot on a Saturday afternoon. Or like, Randy, you're at my house on any given day when we have our kids and maybe your grandson is here and you got the animals. That might be pandemonium or BEDLAM.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Speaking of BEDLAM, did you know that there's a 1946 horror flick called BEDLAM, which you and I would love, starring Boris Karloff? It's characterized as a B movie, which makes it sound even more amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's set in 1761 in a London asylum for the mentally ill, coincidentally.
We have to see this movie.
Yeah.
And then we'll watch it and then we'll talk about it.
There's also a 2019 documentary of the same name. Apparently, it was an official selection of the Sundance Film Festival and a winner of the DuPont Columbia Award.
Huh. I'm not huge for documentaries.
It depends. I've got to be in a mood. Yeah, I've got to be in a certain mood. But
I do want to see that horror one.
I know we have to.
We do.
We have to find it.
I'm sure we could rent it somewhere.
I know I did. Yeah, I think it's available on Prime, Roku, Apple TV, or Google Play.
I have all of those.
So there you go.
I have too many
watching a movie.
Yes.
The documentary, though, is apparently an indictment of the way we treat those with a serious mental illness.
Oh. For research purposes, we should watch that one.
Watch it. We can watch that one on Google Play, Vimeo, Amazon, and Apple. It doesn't tell me. Probably, what is a typical documentary?
I have no idea.
Feature length, probably more than an hour.
Probably. But for research purposes, we could watch it.
Yeah.
With snacks.
And if we had chocolate chill and snacks.
Exactly. Oh, we got this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, during the Middle Ages, between Middle Ages is considered to be between 476 AD and 1450-ish.
That's
a huge chunk of time.
I didn't realize
Probably depends on perspective and which historian you're talking to.
Yeah.
But when I did my research, that was like the general consensus of what people considered to be the Middle Ages. Mental illness was regarded as a punishment from God.
See, I was talking about possession.
Yep. Sufferers were thought to be possessed by the devil, were burned at stakes, or thrown in penitentiaries or madhouses where they were probably chained to the wall or the bed or both.
Not a fun time.
No, not a fun time at all.
When Lev was younger and going through like his major meltdown period of time there.
Yeah.
Andrew and I used to always go, Andrew's my husband, if you didn't know. So we'd always be like, if this was back in the day, like what Renata's talking about, he would have been put in a crazy house, like in a madhouse.
Yes.
100%. And so we've definitely come a long way. There's more work to be done, obviously. But I think about that sometimes, how my kid, who is absolutely wonderful kid now and like going to college, just doing so good. But when he was, I'm going to say 8 to 11 and
going through
the really hard time, not knowing how to deal with it, not knowing where the support was, he would have been, they would have taken him and put him in a madhouse.
And I don't know that you would have been able to see him.
Probably not.
Right? Or, maybe not for a very long time. And then the next time that you did see him, you probably wouldn't recognize him, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, so now that you're saying that, I'm thinking, if that would have happened way back then, right? He's put in a madhouse, and then what happens when you're put in solitary? Like, there's research done when you're put in solitary in places like that you just get worse, like, because you don't have that social interaction, you're not having the help.
Right.
Whereas now we know that that's not a good way to do it. And so, like I said, he's thriving now. He's doing great now. But now I'm thinking about it, going, wow, he would have, like, they would have destroyed him back then. Like, they destroyed people.
Yeah, and would at the age of 17, 18, 19, would you still have him?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I don't know.
Dang.
I'm sure we'll delve more into how people were treated.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be lots more
There's
episodes,
so much.
guys. So much.
As I was trying to do like this sort of basic introductory research, there was so much, and I have so much of the research that I did.
There'll be multiple episodes.
An interesting aside is that 400 BC is one of the first times we see Hippocrates treating mental illness as physiological disease and not demonic possession or displeasure from the gods.
Yeah.
Hippocrates was a Greek physician of the 5th century BC. He's often referred to as the father of medicine.
Yeah.
Founding the Hippocratic School of Medicine, he established medicine as an art with a scientific approach.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go off into, have you heard of the 4 humors?
I have, yes. Well, because I did psychology, and so that was
Yeah,
something
so
we had
you would have
talked about a little bit there.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. He was, so way back then, he was a proponent of like observation of patients and disease.
Super helpful for mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apart from putting together the Hippocratic Oath, which is a standard of ethics, which is still relevant and in use today.
Yep.
He also has a collective work, which is credited for promoting the systematic study of clinical medicine, summarizing the medical knowledge of previous schools, and establishing good practices for doctors. So almost like...
so he really was like the founder of things that we use now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he talked about the humors, human temperament, and depicting the scientific perception of mental health at the time. So there are 4 humors.
Yeah.
Blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm.
Yeah.
It all sounds gross.
Gross, fluidy stuff.
Sounds really grotesque.
But it's the first thought process of this stuff, which is pretty cool, going from, oh, you're possessed by the devil, till, you know what? I think there's actually something else going on.
Yeah. I won't go into all of them, but I will say that the black bile one, of course, is the one that's associated with melancholic temperament. So personality characteristics for that one would be being despondent, quiet, serious, that kind of thing.
I'm thinking depressed personality right there. Yeah.
So probably that was the one that was mostly...
I got all that black bile in me.
Me too. I got a little bit of black, and I think we got a little bit of yellow bile, ambitious, restless.
Yeah, okay. That's not very ADHD-like, I think.
Yeah.
If we were to use today's terms on Hippocrates terms. Yeah.
And I read, I don't think I cited it, but I read a journal, a current journal. The conclusion was that the methodology used by Hippocrates back in the day could be a good guide for the adoption of good practices for contemporary clinicians.
Well, I think so, because like he's the one that came up with, like you said, the Hippocratic Oath was based on him, and that it's all about don't do wrong to your patients. You're trying to help them. Yep. So definitely got some good stuff there.
Yeah. Observe your patients. Yeah. Talk to your patients. Don't come from the perspective of they are their illness or disease. Yeah. And not their own individual self.
Which is funny, because this is 5th century and we're in, what do we count now? 21st?
21st.
Yeah, and we're in the 21st century now. That's a long time, and he has played such a big role. We're still talking about him. Yeah. But not only that, there are still doctors that don't listen to their patients.
Doctors, professionals, smart people, or who should be, smart people that still have these super antiquated notions of what mental illness is. Right. The things that people that I'm surrounded by, at work, I will say, who have said things to me that I cannot believe that I am hearing. Right. About mental illness. Yeah.
Oh, just be happy. It's fine. What do you have to be worried about?
Or you're hilarious. You seem fine.
Yeah. You're smiling. You're happy.
You sure you're depressed?
Right.
Or depression or any mental illness, but mostly depression is what's picked on.
Yeah. I think it's because it's the most widely known,
widely
one.
mentioned anyway.
Yeah.
People will have made comments to me about it. It's because you don't have coping skills and you're weak, which is right. I've had to listen to this crap from people who are supposed to be smarter than that, and I've had to just digest that crap.
Yeah, that's
I know it ought to be not true. So
yeah.
So I'm going to round things out because I don't think we want to go too long with this.
No,
right?
today's an introductory to our Bedlam Beyond Mental Illness podcast.
I'm going to talk about a little bit of history of mental illness in Canada.
Yes,
because we're a young country comparatively.
I see that so often, Andrew. So we were talking about probably politics. I can't remember exactly, but we were talking about something political. And I just kept saying, Canada is a baby of a country, like in all reality, because it was something about they were comparing I can't even remember, but they were comparing our system of something political system, anyways, to systems in Europe. And I'm like, Canada is a baby compared to countries in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like an absolute baby. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, I think we were talking about the housing crisis specifically at the time, because it's like, we need to build all of these houses right now, but the cities that are already built, they're trying to cram more houses in, and instead of having a house, you're having this like tiny little condo now because they're just cramming stuff in. And I said, Canada is a baby of a country, and there is so much more land. I was like, we need to build new cities, entire new cities, new infrastructure altogether.
I agree. We don't have the infrastructure, and like for example, where we are right now, Welland does not have the infrastructure for the amount of real estate they're trying to cram into these small properties.
Right. And then they're talking about how there's not enough jobs for everybody. Yeah, but if you created another city, all of these jobs are going to exist. You create new grocery stores, you can create new schools, new doctor's offices. Like, you can create actual new jobs if you created a new city. Anyways, I digress.
It goes on. We could go on.
Yeah. But ultimately, Canada is a baby of a country. Mm-hmm. And so, let's hear about a little bit of history here.
So the first permanent psychiatric institution, or insane asylum, which they were called, opened in Quebec in 1845, which is actually very, very recent.
Well, we were just talking about the 5th century, and now we're only talking about what, 200 years ago?
1845,
not even a full 200 years. Right? No.
Yes. Yeah, not even. Other asylums opened across Canada from this time until 1914. Initial motives behind the asylum movement were kind and meant to provide care and treatment. However, many inhumane practices occurred in these institutions.
Which we're totally going to do a whole episode on. Absolutely. Just that, maybe even multiple, because I find that stuff so interesting.
It really is. It really, really is.
But all the way to 1914.
Yep. They were opening, I think they were opening up a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Overcrowding was common. Relationships between patients and staff were paternalistic and probably abusive. Patients reported verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse by other patients and by staff.
Shocking.
Many patients, once admitted, spent the rest of their lives in the asylum and isolated from family and community.
That's what we were saying. Yeah. Right? Like once they go in there, because there's no support, no actual help for them, it's like you're done.
Yeah, and we now know, obviously, that's not going to help you.
No.
To isolate from people that love you.
It almost makes me think of that movie 300.
Yeah,
where they talk about how the Spartans would throw their not perfect babies off the cliff.
Yeah,
that's almost like what it feels like. Yep. I'm just gonna stuff this person who isn't all there mentally into this insane asylum
eugenics,
and just leave
which
them.
is another thing that we're going to talk about. Eugenics. We will talk about that.
I've heard that word, but I don't really know that word.
Kind of means what you just said. Not like trying to
like make a perfect
breed out the imperfections of people.
Yeah. Okay.
Including sterilization. I wonder if I mentioned that in this. Sterilization of those who would be in asylums, because we do not want them to procreate.
Oh yes, heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid.
And then I think about that, and for those who maybe you don't know, I was diagnosed with autism as an adult, and it made my childhood make sense. But I would have been thrown in an insane asylum.
We might have met in the asylum.
We probably would have. We still would have met. And we would not be doing as well as we are now, obviously.
Yep.
But that's nuts.
We wouldn't have been allowed to be contributing members of society.
Exactly. Whereas, as we are clearly showing, you can have mental illness and be contributing members of society.
Absolutely.
Same with my 200 guests on Ride or Die show. We are
Yep.
contributing members of society.
Yeah, each and every one.
Yeah.
So asylums often became institutions which provided limited food and shelter with inadequate treatment. There was an over-reliance on seclusion and chemical and physical restraints.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't wait till we talk about lobotomies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
They're so interesting.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Prior to this, the government of Canada left the care of the insane to various religious bodies. So one imagines that the priests and nuns did as well as they could with the resources at hand. But
yeah, but we know how well they did with residential schools and things.
Exactly, right? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, right. With a little bit of power, people could become.
Power corrupts.
Yep.
With great power becomes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
Right?
Yeah.
Spider.
Uncle
Clearly,
Ben.
there is much to be learned about the history and treatment of mental illness in Canada, and we are going to do so. We're going to be delving into. There's so much around the world to talk about, to learn about the history of mental illness and all that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about BEDLAM and what it means and why.
Yeah. Why did we pick that word as the name of the podcast? Yeah.
So I had a question. I wrote down a question for you, but I think we've already mostly touched on it.
Okay, but asking it.
How do you think the current day psychiatric care and or treatment of mental illness stacks up against what you've heard of our history? And should we bring back the asylum?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Because there's a lot of people who say, because I think in the 1980s, there was a movement to any sort of institution that still existed. There was a movement to collapse those. Group homes opened.
Yeah.
Those people became sort of assimilated as much as they possibly could. People are now saying, we need to bring back the institutions. We need blah, 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 blah. There's all these people who need help who are on the street.
I
blah,
think
blah, blah.
I have a very interesting perspective because remember how Lev went to an institution for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that I think there is a place for institutions, but definitely not the way that they were done before.
Right.
So for those who don't know, Lev, my youngest, the one that has autism, and I talked a little bit already and said he went for lack of a better term, batshit crazy. We made the decision as a family and he did go and live at an institution. Sanatorium Road. That's the name of the street it was on.
That's the other term for it too, sanatorium.
Yep.
Crazy.
Right? I'm surprised they didn't change the name of the street. Anyways, so he lived there for 3 months. He would come home on the weekends and then he'd go back up there. And honestly, that was the turning point for him. That was where he actually got the help he needed. He got assessments that he needed done. He met the OT, he met the psychiatrist, speech, what else? All of them. They did all the things that he needed done. Worked on what medication might work, what might not, all in a really safe environment. He went to school every day. So I think there is a place for them.
And there's something to be said for the fact that you could get all of that under one roof, under one umbrella, right?
Right.
So yeah, there's something to be said for that.
But the way that they were run, where it was, oh, you're just mentally ill, goodbye. Go, I want to hide you from society.
Right.
We can't be going backwards in that way.
No.
But putting together the resources and the knowledge that we have now with, like I said, the OTs and speech and psychologists and all that fun stuff, putting those under one roof and actually giving people the help and support that they need, I think that could work, but it does have to be done properly, for sure. Very much, this is not a long-term. Yeah, it's not a long-term solution to put somebody there.
Right.
Unless they need that full-time support forever. There's definitely some people that need extra support for long. That is why they have group homes and stuff. But sometimes people just need someone, an intensive therapy. That's the words I'm looking for. Intensive therapy for a short period of time
and
to help them.
Accessing everything that they need under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because that was the turning point for them. It was
really good.
Right. Because you knew me before and you knew me after.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's a place for them, but let's not go backwards.
Please,
Please.
let's not.
Yes. So I hope everybody enjoyed this first episode of Bedlam Beyond Mental Illness. We do have a logo. I just couldn't figure out how to get it on here today. I was having some issues and gave up because it was peeing me
Technical
off.
difficulties, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we totally will. So our hope right now is to do 2 of these shows a month. If everybody loves them and we get lots of comments or whatever, maybe we'll do more, but we do have to have time to research and all that fun stuff. So we're definitely going to do at least 2 a month for now, and we'll go from there. And if you have any comments, you want to know anything specific, if you're like, hey, I really want to know the history behind bipolar, picking that one because I've already started the research on that one. Throw the comment in there so that we know what kind of stuff you guys are interested in learning about, because right now we're just going by what we're interested in learning about, so deal with it. Be sure, of course, to tune in Wednesday mornings for the Write or Die show, where I interview other writers from across the world, and we again talk about mental illness. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. See you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks.